being displayed as we carry on with the show. But first, we're going to look at what's happening internationally before I introduce the guests that we're going to be going through the local dailies with. And let's start off with the Monitor, which is Uganda, and see what's making headlines there. And we see how peer pressure, drug abuse is ruining women's lives, and this is peer pressure purely, and drug abuse. If we can scroll up a little bit, there was another article there talking about 370 Ugandans repatriated from Rwanda. These are those being repatriated, including teachers whose contracts were terminated after schools were closed because the coronavirus lockdown. We do know that there was a huge number of Ugandans who were living in Rwanda, and well, they say the grass is always green on the other side. They had gone to seek, employment, but with the lockdown, their job losses, and particularly in schools because of the lockdown. Let's move on to another international daily and see what we have. And we have anger as no officer directly charged in Breonna Taylor's death. Now, for those of you that might have been following up in this story, you know Breonna Taylor is a lady who was killed in her apartment after police stormed her apartment in what they call a no-knock warrant arrest. And this, of course, has brought fury in this particular part of the U.S., and this is because no officer has been charged or found guilty. The grand jury has indicted, for wanton endangerment. And according to, details that were given or details that we have read and seen, the officers shot indiscriminately, endangering the lives of even the neighbors, but of course, fatally killing Breonna Taylor. Let's move on to another headline there. And this is the BBC, where we have health chief hails Africa fight against COVID-19. Africa there being hailed for the fight against COVID-19 and the fact that, some of those protocols have been observed, and governments in Africa have taken action and positive action to ensure that that curve is flattened. Of course, we still continue to battle and, weigh in as Africa and even Kenya. And remember, we had that discussion yesterday with the CAS for Health. And, according to him, it is coming down, but we're not yet out of the woods. Let's take a look at CNN as we wind up on the international scene and look at the local dailies. And again, it's that particular story in Louisville where the officers were shot as protests continue past curfew. A curfew has been imposed, and as mentioned, it is because the jury did not find any officer directly guilty of the death of that particular lady, Breonna Taylor, and that continues. Also on CNN, we have Trump refuses to commit to a peaceful transition of power after Election Day. Again, as we look and wait to see how elections are going to pan out in the United States of America. Giant robot standing 60 feet high and weighing 24 tons, tested in Japan. Remember, there was also a lot of, social media interaction on a particular robot that was said to be, a bodyguard to one of the rich guys in, Saudi Arabia. But this is a different robot, a giant robot standing 60 feet high and weighing 24 tons, tested in Japan. That's what we have on the international scene. But we'd like now to change focus and come to the local scene and look at what's making headlines on our dailies this morning. And this morning, I'm joined by Kevin Osido, who's a director at County Watch, and is joining us this morning to just look at what's making headlines on the dailies. Good morning, Kevin, and thank you for joining us bright and early.
Good morning, sir, and how are you? Long time. Good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you. Very well, thank you. And we'll go straight into it, and we'll start off with a headline that is on the Standard. Did Maraga hand Uhuru BBI sword? And this, of course, is the debate with Maraga advising the president to dissolve parliament for failure of enacting the two-thirds gender bill. And this debate, of course, has continued. But now, based on a statement put out by the former, Prime Minister Raila Odinga, and I quote, he says, "We've been ushered into circumstances that require consensus, failing which may throw away the baby with the bath water." And according to some political pundits, they feel that this might be a great opportunity for those who are pushing for the Building Bridges initiative and as a result, the referendum, for them to take advantage and have that done. Kevin Osido, what are your thoughts?
Michael, it's quite interesting because I see three things, actually four things. The first thing is, why are we here? Why was it difficult or impossible for Parliament to be able to agree? Now that we are calling for consensus, why was it difficult for them to arrive at a consensus? Because remember that this is something that has been going on from even the fifth schedule of the Constitution all the way from 2013, when the Constitution requires that there are certain legislations that should have been put in place and that Parliament should have ensured that those things are done. The second issue is the fact that the Honorable Chief Justice has acted according to the Constitution. He has done his work. And the question then that begs is, how do we move forward from there? And that then presents the third thing, which is really about looking at the opportunities within the BBI. If Kenyans choose to embrace the BBI and give the BBI a chance and an opportunity. But remember that there have also been certain mixed reactions around the BBI. And so it therefore means that we have to begin to have a national conversation around what are the interests around bringing in this consensus that the former Prime Minister is talking about within the members of the House themselves and indeed even outside, which means that Kenyans, how do we therefore take the opportunity presented by this particular advisory from the CJ? The fourth issue, Michael, is what is the plan? Even if we dissolved Parliament today, how are we going to guarantee and ensure that Kenyans elect women leaders? We have no plan in terms of the process of ensuring that these women leaders or that Parliament adheres to the constitutional requirement, which is really a third or two-thirds of either gender. That therefore means that we have to do a lot of civic education and or map out the country and say, for instance, that certain counties will have to come up with women leaders. But remember, the manner in which politics is done in this country, it's not still guaranteed that Kenyans are going to elect these women if we do not have a very deliberate support in terms of ensuring that they have resources and plan and process of dealing with the challenges that affect women when it comes to running for office in this country. Michael.
All right, and yes, one of the other questions, of course, that is being raised out of this, and we're going to have two legislators later on, and we'll probably also highlight that, but I'd like to hear from you. And the question is, even if Parliament is dissolved, have we solved the problem?
Michael, I do not think so, which then presents the case around how did we get in here? Remember that, as we said earlier on, there are processes. And I remember that the former Chief Justice providing an advisory on how this process should have been dealt with. Remember that even parliamentarians do not, yes, of course, they have the mandate to be able to pass laws and ensure that there is legislation that is supporting the Constitution. But within Parliament, you have different frameworks. For instance, when this kind of advisory was being initiated at the very onset, we had certain institutions like the Constitutional Implementation and Oversight Committee that then should have ensured that they work together with His Excellency the Attorney General and present a bill through the processes of the House that then would ensure that that this law is passed. But remember that there are several other attempts that then even made it very difficult for Parliament to have quorum. On many instances, I remember sometime when even female parliamentarians walked into Bunge with white scarves and ribbons.
Correct.
And they were championing this particular law to be passed. But quorum was never very possible it was never very possible for the House to arrive at a quorum. So the question is, even if we dissolve Parliament, will we have dealt with the issue if we do not address the reasons around how and why did we get here? And so the question is, what are the plans that we have put in place from the lessons that have been learned? And remember that there are other jurisdictions. We have countries that are around our neighbors, Uganda, for instance. We have Rwanda. We have places like Botswana. How have they been able to ensure that that these particular principles, gender rule and women or gender representation, is actually achieved? So I think that we have lessons that we have jurisdictions that have been able to set very good examples. If as Kenyans we could be willing to be able to learn from them and just find out how have they been able to deal with these issues. notwithstanding the kind of politics that is done in this country, because that really is the biggest undoing. When we cannot be able to agree as a people on a common agenda and rally our minds and put in place proper processes to be able to arrive at very important constitutional legislations like gender rule, then Michael, I don't think the dissolution of government is going to respond to that.
Now, all eyes are on Uhuru Kenyatta, and I don't know, what do you feel has been the role of party leaders in ensuring that this is done? Because when there is need for something to be passed and there is whipping that needs to be done, they get it done and get it done very quickly. But with this particular two-thirds gender bill, it seems to have had a very lazy approach right from the party leaders.
Quite sadly so. And remember that even before we get to the point of the National Assembly or Parliament, at the level when we go for elections, at the political party level, how do we ensure that party leaders and their whips, you know, the people who make decisions at the political party levels, ensure that we have quota where then we ensure that the gender rule is actually exercised? Because if we begin it at that level, Michael, there is no reason whatsoever why these issues will have to be escalated. So I am in total agreement with you that party leaders really have a lot of work to do in terms of, well, at two levels: the level of nomination of candidates at the political party level. Parties need to arrive at a quota, whether it is 30% of candidates that are going to run or cleared to run for office within that particular certificate, whether it is 15% of the quota of the membership. There has to be a deliberate attempt at that level to be able to guarantee and safeguard the gender rule. And then when we fail at that level, we should be able to see that at the level of now, you are a president, you are a very prominent political party leader like His Excellency the Right Honorable former Prime Minister, there has to be deliberate attempt. And I know, for instance, and for sure, that in this particular process, they tried. Unfortunately, in my view, I think two things were missing, which is really the political goodwill to be able to enact this legislation. Because as you rightfully said, when it comes to other selfish interest legislations, and particular legislations that relate to their own likes and interests, they really, you know, whip themselves and they arrive at a quorum very, very fast. But when it comes to important national conversations and important national issues like the gender rule, we do not see them. The second issue, therefore, is adherence to the Constitution, the letter and the spirit of the Constitution. And I think, sadly to say, this regime, Michael, has not been a very good friend of the Constitution of Kenya 2010. Yes, of course, there are many several good things that have come out of this particular regime, but I think we should have been quite prepared very well to be able to strengthen our institutions of not only oversight, but even the institutions that work very closely with the executive, to be able to ensure that the ills that were identified at the promulgation of this Constitution would have been addressed, because Schedule 5 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 gives us timelines within which certain legislations ought to and need to have been put in place. But unfortunately, there was no political goodwill and just the art of constitutionalism. So the practice of implementing the Constitution, reviewing that particular Constitution, and working together with houses like Parliament, both the National Assembly and the Senate, to be able to ensure that these gaps are filled, because our Constitution gives us that particular room to be able to do so. We needed not to get to the level of such a very, where we are. Right.
Okay, and that brings me to an interesting article on the Daily Nation which says Uhuru opposed gender rule right from the start. And this is as he was Deputy Prime Minister. At that point in time, he had misgivings regarding the two-third gender rule, or not necessarily the two-third gender rule, but having particular gender for elective posts. And that of course remains a debate, and we'll continue with this particular discussion with the legislators. But let me look at also another story that is making headlines, and it's also made it to the front page of the Standard. DP's rude awakening at Jubilee House. Now, this is after the Deputy President had a 2-hour meeting with the Secretary General for Jubilee Party, and this is in regards to the by-election in Msambweni, where the Deputy President was clear and he says that in his opinion, they should have fielded a candidate, but according to what the party had agreed, which he seems not to have been privy to the agreement, he says he was not consulted, was forced to come out and say, well, he agrees with the party, although he thought differently. Your thoughts on this and the fact that the deputy president, despite being the deputy party leader, seems to have been left out of many decisions?
Michael, that's for his own liking. It's really for his own personal liking, because I think as a deputy party leader, and remember that His Excellency, the deputy president, was really the chief campaigner of the 2017 elections for the Jubilee Party. The gentleman knows the party very well. He knows almost all corners of this country very well. And from what I see him doing, and from what I know a little bit of what he's working on, the gentleman has a network all over this country. But it's not possible that you can be able to do that, Michael, and then you lose certain very basic tenets of your own political party. And so he should not have waited for the by-election in Msambweni to be able to present the opportunity for him to engage with this party leader. There have been very many instances, including the issues that are going on in Nairobi County Assembly, where the Jubilee Party has been very vocal around how the affairs of the assembly should be run, because the party has a majority. And there are several other issues that are happening for Jubilee Party or against Jubilee Party all over the country, for where it has some strong membership. So the deputy president should have taken a stronghold in this particular occurrences, so that then his voice is made, and that would have given him the opportunity also to present his muscle within the party and the kind of the decisions that are being made. But also remember that the gentleman has been coming out so strongly to be able to exert his voice and intention to run for the top office, which therefore means that he probably would have wanted to use this particular by-election to test the waters and check, how am I doing as a candidate who wants to run for office? Is it possible that I can be able to use the little left strength to be able to tilt certain decisions within the party? And so he probably wanted to use this also to test the waters. But I think it also presents the third thing, Michael, which is consensus building within political parties to be able to make decisions, and internal dispute mechanisms. So basically testing the governance and leadership principles within political parties. How do you agree to disagree and ultimately agree to move forward? And I think that this presents a case for many political parties to be able to check how a very strong officer like a deputy party leader can have decisions and positions that are ultimately turned down by a secretary general or members of the political party. Absolutely. But I think the fifth thing, which is very important, which Mheshimiwa Tuju raised, was the fact that there is an agreement, which is in the form of a handshake between the former Prime Minister, ODM, and also the ruling party Jubilee, which then presents a case in point of discussion. How do you then exercise democracy and the will for individuals to run for election at their own volition, despite the fact that you have already existing agreements between either political parties or coalition members.
Right, Kevin, I'm going to request that we take a short break, but we'll come back with you. When we come back, we're going to be looking at page 12 of the Standard, where we're looking at protocols that are expected by Ministry of Health. As a country, we look forward to opening of schools, or maybe not look forward to it. It depends on which side of the script you're looking at that from. So we need to pay some bills and take a short commercial break, and I'll give you a quick reminder of that question. Are you satisfied with the performance of your Member of Parliament? We have 81% of you saying no and 19% of you saying yes. We take a short break. We'll be right back right here on Morning Express.
This is KTN News. For a prime commercial plot, look no further. Soil Merchants Properties have amazing offers for plots right next to the Naivasha SGR station. The area has been opened up to new business opportunities boosted by development of the dry port. The title deeds are ready with water and electricity available, with all the amenities nearby. The area is ideal for hotel or go-down development. Get an 8-acre plot at 350,000 Kenya shillings for cash buyers or 395,000 Kenya shillings for installment buyers. Secure a plot with 30% deposit and the balance payable in 4 months. Welcome to our open day on 26th September 2020 SMS plot to 21595 for inquiries. Do not miss out on this great investment opportunity before the prices go up. Buy today, build tomorrow. For more information, call us on 0790 771677. Maraga County boasts of one of the largest and most equipped referral hospitals this country will have upon completion.
Our people here have a problem with cancer. We have also established for the same for diabetic patients. So we want those two to be our specialized area for this particular hospital.
Tumepata hospitali sasa, tutakuwa na shida, tutakuwa tunatibiwa hapo.
We have now a modern funeral parlor.
Ni kusafi, si kama hizi zingine venye huwa inatoa ile harufu.
I want you to move around the country and tell me which one is better.
We have come up with a very modern amenity ward. Now it will cater for both the private and VIP.
My latest one is I want Kakamega town to be a city. Secondly, I want this town to be a medical city.
This is KTN News.